The moment everything changed at Westwood High began with a smug grin, a careless yank, and a pair of handcuffs meant for the wrong person. The hallway was a noisy river of backpacks and chatter, the kind of chaos that comes with the first week of school. At the top of that chaos stood Jason Thorne, the self-appointed king of Westwood. Wealth, status, and entitlement clung to him like a second skin. His father owned half the county. His mother floated through every charity event. Jason had grown up believing the world existed to serve him. And then there was Elara, the new girl moving through the hallway with quiet focus, her dark hair tied back in a simple ponytail. She wasn't trying to be mysterious, just trying to get to class without attracting attention. But Jason noticed her anyway. He always noticed anything that didn't play by his unwritten rules. He stepped into her path, his friends instantly falling silent. "Hey, new girl," he said, voice sharp enough to slice through the noise. She turned, guarded but calm. She knew boys like him every school had only allowed, entitled, and armed with a belief that consequences were for other people. Before she could speak, Jason grabbed the end of her ponytail and yanked hard. The pain shot through her skull, bringing her to her knees. Her books scattered across the floor. The hallway went dead quiet, her gasp echoing off the lockers. Jason dangled a torn strand of her hair between his fingers like a trophy. "What's the matter?" he mocked. "Can't take a joke?" Before Elara could rise, Jason's expression changed. His grin stiffened, turned calculated. He stepped back, raised his hands dramatically, and shouted, "Officers, hey, we need help." The school resource officers Miller and David Sona pushed through the parted crowd. They weren't cruel, just lazy. They went with whatever version of the story caused the least paperwork, and Jason had always made their jobs easy. "She freaked out," Jason said smoothly. "I just said hello, and she went crazy. I had to defend myself." His friends chimed in with half-hearted lies. Elara, shaking but furious, pushed herself to her feet. "That's not true. He pulled my hair. He threw me down." Officer Davidson sighed, the sound of someone who had already decided he didn't want the hassle. "Miss, turn around," he said. "We need to detain you until we sort this out." "What? No." "Please, he listened to me. He attacked me." But they had stopped listening the moment Jason opened his mouth. The cuffs clicked open, cold and final. When they snapped around her wrists, the metal bit into her skin. The hallway rippled with whispers. Jason folded his arms, satisfied. But as Elara stood cuffed and humiliated, something inside her shifted. Her tears dried. Her breathing steadied. She lifted her head and looked right at Jason, not with fear, but with a quiet promise that this wasn't the end. She was escorted away while Jason basked in his manufactured victory. For him, the story was finished. For Elara, it was only beginning. Later, in the principal's office, Jason sat comfortably while the officers repeated their lazy narrative. Principal Albright nodded along, eager to appease the Thorne family. Then the door opened, and everything changed. Elara walked in with a tall, composed woman whose presence altered the air in the room. She was dressed in a sharply tailored suit, her expression cool and unreadable, her posture radiating authority. Her hair was tied back like Elara's, but on her it looked like a crown. This was Isabella Rossi Valentini, a federal judge. "Principal Albright," she said calmly, "I'm Judge Rossi Valentine, and this is my daughter. I understand you've made a serious mistake." The principal paled. Everyone in the state knew her name. What followed was a quiet, devastating dismantling of their entire fabricated story. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. She asked precise questions, each one a blade. "On what evidence did you handcuff my daughter? How many witnesses did you interview? Did you review the hallway cameras? Does your zero-tolerance policy include students who pull someone's hair hard enough to injure them?" The officers stammered. The principal sweated. Jason shrank in his chair. Then she delivered the final blow. "You accuse my daughter of a crime," she told Jason. "Do you know the legal term for lying to the police? It's a criminal offense. And when you do it to harm someone, it becomes malicious prosecution. That's a felony." Silence swallowed the room. Jason's face drained of color. Judge Rossi Valentine offered two choices: bury everything and face her lawsuit, or handle it correctly right now. They chose the latter. What followed shook Westwood High to its core. Jason was expelled. His university acceptance rescinded. His name erased from the team roster. The officers were removed from the school and placed under review. District-wide reforms were implemented under the judge's guidance. And Jason wasn't done. In court, he faced charges for assault and filing a false report. He was sentenced to community service at a legal aid clinic and required to write a public apology to Elara, one he had to read aloud in the school auditorium. The day he stood on that stage, voice shaking, no jacket, no swagger, he apologized for everything he'd done. Elara listened in silence, composed and strong. Judge Rossi Valentine addressed the room afterward, her voice carrying without effort. Power is not a weapon. Privilege is not protection from consequences. Justice is not a luxury. It is a right. Elara finished the school year untouched by further bullying. She found confidence she didn't know she had, forged in the fire of that day. She had seen the system fail here and seen her mother hold it accountable. She learned the power of truth, of staying rooted in who she was. It became a story everyone at Westwood remembered. The day a bully picked the wrong girl. The day justice found its voice. The day silence was no longer the safest choice. It started with a laugh, a sharp, careless, cruel, the kind of laugh that makes people turn and look even before they know why. Elara didn't want attention. She just wanted to survive her first week at a new school without being noticed. But the universe has a way of pushing quiet people into loud moments. Jason Thorne stepped in front of her, blocking her way like he owned the hallway. Everyone knew his reputation: rich boy, smooth liar, untouchable troublemaker. His smirk already told her this wouldn't end well. He grabbed her ponytail before she even had time to breathe. The pain was instant and shocking. A burning, tearing sting that shot down her neck and into her spine. Her knees buckled. Her books scattered across the floor in a useless flutter of pages. She heard the sound of her own gasp, small, fragile, helpless. Jason let out a low whistle as he dangled a strand of her torn hair between his fingers. His friends laughed like it was entertainment, like her pain was a joke. Her vision blurred, humiliation knotting in her throat. She tried to stand, tried to push herself back up, but her hands trembled so violently she could barely hold her backpack. And then he did something worse. He stepped back dramatically, raised his hands, and shouted for the officers. His grin turned poison acid, the kind of smile people wear right before they destroy someone. She attacked me. I was just talking to her and she freaked out. His friends nodded instantly, their lies smooth and practiced. Elara's heart dropped. That's not true, she whispered, voice shaking. He pulled my hair. He threw me down. The officers didn't even ask her to explain. They didn't even look into her eyes. They just turned her around and snapped the cold metal around her wrists. Her breath froze. The humiliation of those cuffs, the way everyone stared but no one spoke, cut deeper than Jason's assault. Her chest tightened, her vision swam, and for a moment she thought she might crumble right there on the hallway floor. But something inside her, something quiet yet fierce, refused to break. She lifted her chin. She let them walk her out, but she didn't cry. Not in front of them. Later, standing in the principal's office with the cuffs still marking her wrists, she felt small in a way she had never felt before, like she was drowning in someone else's life. And then the door opened. Her mother walked in, not rushed, not frantic, but calm in a way that made the entire room shift. Isabella Rossi Valentine was a storm disguised in silk and steel. Her presence alone made the officers straighten and the principal swallow hard. Elara's eyes filled instantly, not because she was rescued, but because she finally felt safe. Her mother placed a hand on her shoulder, warm, protective, steady, and Elara's body relaxed as if the single touch pulled her back from the edge she'd been teetering on. "What evidence did you have?" her mother asked quietly. "To handcuff my daughter." Her voice was calm, controlled, but beneath it was a blade. Jason shrank under her gaze. The officers looked down. The principal fumbled for excuses. Isabella didn't yell. She didn't need to. Her words struck harder than anger ever could. Every question she asked peeled another layer off their lies. Every silence afterward forced them to face the truth. Elara watched Jason's confidence crumble. She watched the officers realize their mistake. She watched the principal sweat through his collar. And for the first time since her knees hit the floor in that hallway, she felt her heart lift again. Justice unfurled itself slowly, Like a sunrise pushing away a long night, Jason was expelled. His future cracked open beneath him. The officers were removed, policies rewritten, apologies issued. The day Jason was forced to stand on the school stage and read his apology aloud, his voice shook. He had humiliated her in front of everyone, and now he was the one standing exposed, stripped of his arrogance. Elara didn't smile. She didn't need to. She just listened. Calm, strong, unbroken. Her mother's words at the end were soft but powerful. Silence is not strength. Truth is. Elara carried the sentence in her chest for the rest of the year. She walked the halls with her head high and not loud, not showy, just steady. People stepped aside, not out of fear, but out of respect. And though the memory of that day still stung, it no longer haunted her. It became the reason she grew sharper, braver, stronger. The girl who had fallen to her knees in the hallway didn't stay on the ground. She rose, and she never let anyone push her down again.